Thomas Markle has stepped back into the spotlight with startling revelations about his daughter Meghan Markle in a move that's reignited public scrutiny and media frenzy. Speaking out with unprecedented candor, Thomas has taken aim at Meghan's past, her Netflix series with Love, Meghan, and a personal secret he claims the Duchess would rather keep hidden. For those who think they've heard it all before, Thomas insists this time is different, is ready to reveal what he calls hidden truths and unexpected twists that will change how the world sees his daughter. Once a proud and supportive father, he now finds himself at the center of a media firestorm that shows no sign of dying down. Nearly 5 years have passed since Meghan's royal wedding, a day Thomas Markle famously missed due to health complications. But time has done little to mend their fractured relationship. Instead, tensions have escalated. Thomas has gone from being a distant, disappointed parent to a vocal critic, especially targeting Meghan's new cooking and lifestyle series. He's mocked everything from her culinary style to what he perceives as a carefully crafted public image. This shift has left royal watchers and the public alike wondering what drove him to speak out now, and what exactly is he accusing Meghan of hiding. According to Thomas, Meghan's public persona, especially her rebranding as Meghan Sussex, is a strategic performance, not an authentic reflection of her upbringing or identity. He's particularly upset by her claims of having endured a difficult childhood, suggesting instead that she enjoyed a comfortable lifestyle, courtesy of his financial support. In one emotional outburst, Thomas said he was hurt that Meghan identifies more with the title Sussex than with her own family name. He insists she was never a struggling latch kid, but rather someone who dined at restaurants, lived in a tidy Los Angeles home, and never wanted for anything. The heart of Thomas' critique lies in what he calls Meghan's performance for the cameras. He alleges that her Netflix series is filled with embellishments and misrepresentations, from tales of eating budget meals to suggesting she grew up feeling isolated because of the Markle name. These, he claims, are deliberate attempts to create a rags to royalty and narrative that fits her current brand. According to Thomas, Meghan is erasing her real roots and distancing herself from the family legacy in favor of a more glamorous, more palatable image suited to Hollywood and royalty. Beyond complaints about cooking shows and childhood anecdotes, Thomas's accusations reflect a deeper emotional wound. He says he's watched from afar as Meghan cultivates relationships with celebrities and power players while seemingly abandoning the family that raised her. He views her transformation as a betrayal, not just of him, but of their shared history. When he declared it's time to tell everything, it wasn't just frustration. It sounded like a promise to reveal chapters of Meghan's life the public has never seen. He questions her narrative about meeting Prince Harry, suggesting she knew exactly who he was long before their relationship became public. Thomas's most scathing remarks are reserved for Meghan's Netflix show with Love, Meghan. While the series presents a charming, whimsical portrait of the Duchess, complete with cooking tutorials and personal memories, Thomas claims it's all an act. He particularly took offense to episodes where Meghan describes her family name as a source of pain and misunderstanding. To him, this is a painful rewrite of history. He believes Meghan never expressed discomfort with being a Markle, at least not until she entered royal life. He even stated that Meghan's late grandmother would be devastated by her efforts to distance herself from the family name. Media outlets on both sides of the Atlantic have jumped on Thomas Markle's claims, seeking corroboration or contradiction from people who knew Meghan during her formative years. Some describe her as intelligent, driven, and supported both financially and emotionally. Others argue she's simply offering her version of events shaped by her own lived experience. Still, Thomas's allegations have thrown a spotlight on the tension between public image and private truth, between who Meghan Markle was and who she has chosen to become. While with Love, Meghan appears on the surface to be a light-hearted blend of nostalgic memories and home cooking, It is also a major business endeavor. Meghan's multi-million deal with Netflix brings with it not just creative expression, but commercial stakes. Viewership numbers and controversy go hand in hand. Ironically, the harshest critic of the show, her father Thomas Markle, may be fueling its popularity. His relentless public attacks have driven curious audiences to tune in, eager to see whether his accusations hold any truth. In the world of streaming, attention is currency. And whether it's admiration or outrage, Netflix thrives on both. Adding fuel to the fire, Meghan's half-brother, Thomas Markle Jr., has joined the growing chorus of criticism. He has publicly dismissed Meghan's recollections as pure fiction, scoffing at scenes where she suggests she struggled to get a decent meal at home. As more family members speak out, the carefully curated image Meghan presents in her show faces growing scrutiny from those who claim to know the real story. The backlash suggests a widening gap between the Duchess's Netflix persona and her family's version of her upbringing. Even Meghan's approach to cooking on the show hasn't escaped criticism. Her on-screen meals, elaborate fruit platters decorated with edible flowers, and unconventional pasta techniques have left some viewers baffled. One segment in particular, where she dumps raw spaghetti into a pan of vegetables and water, drew open mockery from Thomas Markle himself. He questioned whether Meghan's recipes were truly designed for real families or if they were part of an idealized, impractical fantasy. Critics argue that instead of offering relatable, budget-friendly ideas, Meghan is promoting an out-of-touch lifestyle masquerading as homey simplicity. Public reaction has been sharply divided. Some see Thomas Markle's commentary as the bitter musings of an estranged father trying to stay relevant. Others believe he has a point that Meghan's polished on-camera presence may not reflect the authentic woman behind the scenes. One well-known critic even labeled it laughable to watch Meghan pose as a modest home cook while suggesting breakfast ideas that require nearly 90 and fresh produce. In contrast, her supporters defend the series as uplifting, arguing that it's meant to inspire, not to dictate practical kitchen rules. Despite the controversy, Netflix appears to be embracing the buzz. The streaming giant has already confirmed a second season of With Love, Meghan, indicating that the Markle family drama is far from over. Ironically, Thomas's criticisms may be contributing to the show's success. Viewers are increasingly watching to see whether Meghan addresses or subtly responds to her father's attacks. With speculation mounting, audiences will likely be glued to their screens in the coming season, scanning for any veiled references or emotional rebuttals woven into Meghan's polished presentation. At the heart of the backlash lies something deeper than spaghetti and fruit bowls. Thomas Markle's most damaging accusation is that Meghan's entire public image is a carefully orchestrated illusion. As he and others from her past speak out, they challenge not just her culinary credibility, but the broader authenticity of her storytelling. Whether this is a bitter family feud playing out in the spotlight or a reckoning with the fine line between personal narrative and public performance, one thing is certain: the Markle drama isn't cooling down anytime soon. Thomas Markle's newest round of criticism strikes at the core of Meghan's public persona. He portrays his daughter as someone who scripts every line and leaves no room for genuine spontaneity. To him, Meghan's philanthropic speeches, heartfelt interviews, and even casual anecdotes are less personal reflections than carefully choreographed performances. The charge is severe. If true, it would mean that her reputation as a relatable modern progressive, someone who rose from a challenging childhood to champion mental health awareness, women's rights, and racial equality, rests on a polished facade rather than lived experience. Thomas pushes the allegation further, suggesting Meghan may have rewritten elements of her family history to fit a more convenient narrative. He even hints that her relationship with Prince Harry might have been less serendipitous and more strategic, raising the possibility that she deliberately positioned herself within royal circles. In his view, Meghan's new Netflix presence is so sleek and controlled that it borders on artificiality, a claim many fans dismiss, yet one that feeds long-standing skepticism among her detractors. Complicating matters, Meghan's half-brother and half-sister have publicly echoed similar suspicions, if in rougher terms. Thomas Markle Jr., for example, branded her Netflix series unwatchable, scoffing at scenes where she recalls financial hardship despite evidence of frequent meals at upscale restaurants and a stable upbringing. With father, brother, and sister aligned in doubt, Meghan faces a united familial front, regardless of whether she chooses to respond. What stings Thomas most, however, is Meghan's depiction of their father-daughter relationship. In one interview, she said she'd lost her dad after the 2018 wedding fiasco. Thomas insists the story is backward. He was ill, cut off from information about the ceremony, and later vilified by tabloids as though he had willfully stayed away. Confusion and heartbreak, he says, have since hardened into anger, fueling today's very public dispute over who abandoned whom and why the once close bond now lies in ruins. A big lie at the heart of the feud. Thomas Markle insists he is determined to expose what he calls Meghan's big lie. Supporters on Meghan's side counter that he has repeatedly betrayed her trust, staging paparazzi photos before the royal wedding and giving paid tabloid interviews that cast her in a cruel light. Thomas, however, argues that Meghan was the first to weaponize the media, crafting a sympathetic narrative in which she was the beautiful daughter abandoned by an unreliable father. Fans now face a stark choice. Is Meghan a savvy star controlling her brand, or a misunderstood duchess under attack from relatives hungry for attention and cash? Authenticity on trial. Thomas's accusations elevate every public gesture Meghan makes. Viewers wonder whether each heartfelt speech or casual anecdote is genuine or simply another layer in a carefully managed image. That question alone fuels curiosity and paradoxically her popularity, because each new appearance is scrutinized for signs of either sincerity or performance. Competing childhood memories. Much of the friction centers on Meghan's description of her early years. She often recalls working hard, skipping luxuries, and settling for humble TV dinners. Thomas scoffs at that portrayal, pointing instead to a two-income household, a well-furnished Los Angeles home, and frequent outings to Hollywood restaurants. As a successful lighting director, he says he ensured his daughter never lacked comfort or opportunity. Identity struggles versus parental sacrifice. Meghan has spoken about feeling out of place at school and wrestling with biracial identity. Thomas doesn't dispute the complexity of race, but claims the show magnifies her hardships for dramatic effect. He bristles at her suggestion that she was a latchkey kid, insisting he worked long hours precisely to afford private schooling and a full refrigerator, and even used industry contacts to help her land early acting gigs. The clash seems less about facts than about whose version of sacrifice and struggle the public will believe. Meghan's half-brother and half-sister echo Thomas' grievances, accusing her of selective amnesia about a once tight family dynamic. They recall driving her to school and sharing ordinary routines, memories they say vanished when she left for college and the spotlight beckoned. Thomas describes a final warm meal together complete, with an affectionate photo after which he claims Meghan simply stopped returning calls. If his account is true, she severed ties without warning. If hers is true, he broke her trust. Each side is steadfast in its own righteousness, and the rift shows no sign of healing. Even trivial moments now ignite controversy. On St. Patrick's Day, Meghan posted an Instagram story of green waffles decorated for her children, Archie and Lyot. Online sleuths noted that the waffle iron pictured produced a shape different from the final product, sparking accusations that the clip was staged with store-bought waffles. The outcry over something as small as breakfast underscores how deeply the authenticity debate now runs if critics believe she'll fabricate a waffle. What else might be scripted? In the end, the dispute remains a tangle of conflicting recollections. Financial comfort versus frugality, parental devotion versus neglect, sincerity versus performance. As the Netflix series rolls on and social media moments multiply, any reconciliation between father and daughter seems increasingly distant, leaving the public to decide which version of the Markle story rings true. A waffle and a warning sign. What may seem like a trivial Instagram moment, Meghan Markle posting green waffles for St. Patrick's Day, quickly became another point of contention in the Markle family feud. Thomas Markle, seizing on the apparent inconsistency between the waffle maker shown and the final waffle served, claimed it was more evidence of Meghan's habit of embellishing her life. To him, if she could allegedly bend the truth over something as harmless as breakfast, what else might she be scripting? This incident, dubbed the waffle fiasco, ties back to a sentimental detail. The waffle maker was reportedly a gift from Queen Elizabeth to young Archie. Prince Harry had once shared that the Queen asked what Archie wanted for Christmas, and Meghan had suggested a waffle maker. Now, with critics scrutinizing the details of her Instagram post, some even question whether Meghan is still using that original gift or if the moment was staged altogether. Perceptions of authenticity. For Thomas, it's the small inconsistencies that matter. They form a pattern, he argues, of an overly polished, curated life crafted for public approval. Meghan supporters, however, push back, saying the scrutiny is absurd. Maybe the waffles came from a different batch, or maybe two devices were used. Focusing on the shape of a waffle, they say, reveals more about her critics' obsession than Meghan's supposed deceit. The timing of the controversy was also telling. It coincided with the lukewarm reception of Meghan's lifestyle series with Love Meghan, which critics labeled everything from gormless filler to narcissistic fluff. But rather than dampen interest, the backlash fueled curiosity. Netflix unfazed green-lit a second season. Meghan remained upbeat, telling followers she was excited to share more fun in future episodes, appearing unbothered by the noise. A pattern or a pylon, yet Thomas Markle insists this is all part of a larger issue. From questionable waffle presentations to allegedly distorted personal anecdotes, he believes Meghan is failing to show her true self and that the public is beginning to see through the facade. His stance has even found traction among comedians and late-night hosts who have lampooned Meghan's carefully themed posts. Some former fans have become skeptical, wondering whether her image is more curated than candid. Harry has stayed silent on the waffle scandal. He had once lovingly praised Meghan for making organic waffle mixes in the iron gifted by his grandmother. Now that simple statement is under scrutiny, as petty as it may seem, the waffle drama has crystallized a broader dilemma. Is the Markle family rift just about personal betrayal, or does it speak to deeper issues of narrative control and public identity? Family fallout and emotional toll. The backlash isn't limited to Thomas. Meghan's half-sister, Samantha Markle, has been a vocal critic for years, accusing her of using their father's support only to discard him once fame arrived. Some psychologists have speculated that Meghan may be grappling with complex emotions, anger, pain, even guilt as she confronts public estrangement from her own family. Still, the Markles seem equally wounded, portraying themselves as casualties of Meghan's ascent into celebrity. The press thrives on these fractures. Every time Meghan shares a personal story, tabloids race to get reactions from her father or half-siblings, perpetuating a cycle of blame, resentment, and emotional exhaustion. Thomas Markle Jr. went so far as to advise viewers to skip halfway through with Love Meghan, calling it a shallow show devoid of authenticity. While some dismiss his remarks as attention-seeking, others interpret them as expressions of deep familial hurt and a sense of erasure. The royal shadow and Meghan's image. Although Meghan is no longer a working royal, her marriage to Prince Harry ensures global visibility. And Thomas's attacks inevitably reflect on the Sussex brand. Harry, while refraining from direct responses, is known to disapprove of Thomas's ongoing public commentary. Even so, Netflix seems to benefit from the controversy. Debate drives viewership, and Meghan's next season promises to be bigger and bolder, further fanning the flames of public fascination. Meanwhile, Thomas Markle has gained allies among those who view Meghan as a social climber, someone who leveraged her father's support until it was no longer useful. These critics point out that Thomas funded her education, encouraged her artistic pursuits, and opened doors in the entertainment industry. For them, his current bitterness stems not from jealousy but from betrayal, and so the cycle continues with each new episode, post, or interview. The fault lines within the Marle family deepen. The world watches as father and daughter remain publicly at odds. Each entrenched in their version of the truth, each fueling a drama that, for better or worse, continues to captivate millions. A fractured family and an unyielding narrative. Supporters of Thomas Markle often point out that he provided for Meghan throughout her childhood, ensuring she never lacked for anything. They share his indignation of watching her publicly recast aspects of her past, feeling it erases his contributions. But others argue that Thomas's continual media appearances only deepen the divide, humiliating himself in the process and driving Meghan further away. Caught in the emotional crossfire is Meghan's mother, Doria Ragland. Unlike Thomas, Doria has maintained a dignified silence throughout the public drama, rarely commenting, but always appearing quietly supportive. She participated in Meghan's Netflix series in a measured, respectful role, never engaging in public criticism. To Thomas, this exclusion feels like yet another betrayal is left on the outside while Doria is brought in. But the family conflict goes far beyond childhood anecdotes or reality TV features. It's rooted in painful themes: trust, loyalty, betrayal, and the struggle for control over the family narrative. Why Thomas refuses to stay silent? Many wonder why Thomas Markle continues to speak publicly if it only alienates his daughter further. By now, he must know that each interview sparks headlines and fierce backlash from Meghan supporters. But Thomas insists that his motive is to set the record straight, to correct what he sees as a distorted public version of their shared history. He resents being portrayed as a greedy or incompetent figure, and has stated that he only agreed to paid interviews after the paparazzi scandal, when he was caught staging photos and felt forced to explain himself. In his view, Meghan painted him as unreliable, and the media narrative only reinforced that perception. Thomas has repeatedly said that if Meghan reached out to him privately and sincerely, he would step back from the spotlight. But that moment hasn't come, at least not in the form he hopes for. Some critics believe that as Thomas grows older, he's becoming more desperate.